interest in developing further voice and choice in your efforts to personalize learning in your classroom. Personally, I love the creativity that goes into incorporating this element, but as I say that, I also want to note that it is quite a challenge to provide students with a variety of options while also maintaining clear and consistent expectations and rigorous academic standards. In this video, we'll break down this element by topic, first choice and then voice, and then we'll take an in-depth look at the ways in which to be intentional in your approach to effectively incorporating each. In the past, I've jokingly described the choice piece of personalized learning as differentiation on steroids, because the goal is to try to differentiate as many facets of the lesson or unit as you possibly can. In practice, this means students must be given variety in regards to what they learn, and how they demonstrate their learning. It also means designing a lesson or unit that provides a variety of learning pathways and supports students as they design their own learning experiences, one choice at a time. Therefore, let's organize our breakdown of student choice into three categories: choice with content and instruction, choice with assignments, and choice with unit design. Personalization provides students with options in the content and/or also the delivery of instruction. In an English classroom, units will focus on a genre of literature, say poetry or science fiction. And then students will have a myriad of choices in which text they read and explore within that genre. Instructionally, the differentiation of delivery methods caters instruction to the unique learning style and individual set of learning preferences for each student. The educator's goal: provide multiple avenues for engaging the course content to hit various learning modalities. Such options may include podcasts, video content, written materials, direct instruction, or shared Google Slides. This differentiation in content delivery empowers students in three distinct ways. 1. The learner can now revisit content on demand and as often as needed. 2. Students, having first pre-assessed their own strengths and weaknesses, can choose the order and duration of time allotted to each assignment, creating a personalized learning pathway. And 3. Students have additional one-on-one and small group time with the teacher who is no longer tied to the front of the classroom. Teachers can effectively shift into the guide on the side role during class time. Personalized learning extends students the freedom to either demonstrate their learning and mastery of the content through a medium of their own choosing, or select an assignment, mission, or challenge from an extensive list of options. Both avenues are great for creating personalized learning opportunities for students, but personally I love the challenges posed by the first approach. By extending students the autonomy to determine the best medium through which to demonstrate their understanding of a given concept, students are able to merge what they know academically with what they know and are passionate about in a context that is typically outside of the classroom. This creates a real-world connection between the text and the tangible, the work and the world. So try lifting those teacher-imposed parameters, directions, and guidelines, and let students rely on their own creativity, innovation, and problem-solving skills to make choices in how they create an expression of an idea that exists only in their mind. This may be hard to get your mind around, so here's an example. Think about it this way. Writing assignments, they test two things: what the prompt is asking and the student's ability to write about it. In a PE class, you roll out a basketball in James Naismith's rules, and people play. But what would happen if we rolled out an idea or a ball and asked students to create a new context, to design an interpretation that expressed what they knew? Consider how much emphasis this approach places on the process of learning versus the product. Consider also how much voice and ownership this enables students to have with limitless choices. Lastly, consider how much this changes the teacher's role and focus as they support students. Okay, so let's begin by taking a concept tied to a standard. Now I get it that true personalized learning looks more like a Montessori model with students pursuing whatever concepts and content they wish, but that's just not the reality of the expectations placed on educators today, given state standards and state testing. So again, let's just start with a concept tied to state standards. Let's say that we're analyzing for a central theme in a novel and literature, or in a physics class breaking down how friction impacts acceleration, or how to hold a conversation in French in a foreign language class. So to begin with, let's start with a simple prompt as your goal. A potential prompt might sound as follows: demonstrate your understanding of, fill in the blank, in a way that best illustrates your learning and mastery of that thing you filled in the blank. Having given this assignment in my class over the concept of theme, the end product that students submitted ranged from paintings to videos, rap songs to interpretive dances, all of which conveyed a theme in the novel and provided text evidence as support. In the physics class, some students might address the friction and acceleration prompt by filming themselves riding a skateboard to a stop, or by skipping a rock across the surface of a pond to note the distance between each skip as it shortens due to friction. And in French class, students could submit podcasts, video interviews, or record a Skype, FaceTime, or Google Hangout conversation with someone in another French class or from France, in French. These are just a few of the ways in which student choice can drive personalized learning. Now, just as a warning, greater autonomy in how students demonstrate mastery clearly leads to greater diversity in the end product, which poses a bit of a problem but not an insurmountable challenge when it comes to grading equitably. Rubrics are essential evaluation pieces for assignments such as these. Best practices in these instances would be to allow students to help create the rubric criteria, which is also a way to empower student voice too. Therefore, make time early on to lead discussions that promote questioning and brainstorming what it might look like to effectively answer these general personalized prompts. Design a rubric together with your students. And as you do, try to interject and articulate the value that risk-taking has in the creative process. Hey, you can even build risk into the rubric and ask students to reflect on that element after the process and the product are complete. Wow, it's hard to talk about choice without talking about voice. But before we intentionally discuss voice, there is one more place that educators should look to build choice into their personalized learning plan. The final way students can be empowered by choice in a personalized learning unit is in the daily practices and routines that aid their efforts towards their learning goals. Personalized learning develops metacognitive skills by empowering students with choice. In personalized learning, students often have the choice in determining what medium of content delivery will optimize their experience according to their individual learning style and preferences. The final way students can be empowered by choice in a personalized learning unit is in the daily practices and routines that aid their efforts towards their learning goals. Personalized learning develops metacognitive skills by empowering students with choice. In a personalized learning unit, students often have the choice to sit in a location in the room that best supports their goal for the day. In a personalized learning unit, students often make choices in setting their daily objectives and how to allocate different portions of the time to the parts of that objective. And in personalized learning, students often have a choice in determining what medium of content delivery will optimize their experience according to their individual learning style and preferences. Students also make choices in the pacing and design of the unit calendar, scheduling assignments and lessons at times and for durations that fit their learning needs and their busy lifestyle. Gosh, even the choice to listen to music while they work and what type of music to listen to and whether or not that music has lyrics or not is a choice that learners make. Our job as educators is to coach students into being cognizant of these choices and to cultivate habits and acknowledge the ideal learning conditions necessary for them to optimize their academic and creative productivity. As was mentioned earlier, sound questioning can spark this metacognitive process for students, particularly when paired with a routine reflection piece that asks students to evaluate their process at the end of their learning. And now we come to the last piece for this video, a look at the role voice plays in personalized learning. Our look at voice is relatively short, given that the idea is simple. Give students the ability to voice questions, opinions, and or revisions to your personalized learning process. Now, these are only questions and suggestions. Ultimately, it's up to you and your professional discretion whether or not to allow this feedback to shape your course design. But in my experience, some of the best alterations to my course have come as a result of students voicing their preferences and opinions. In my first iterations in a personalized learning format, I provided students with video and written materials and instructions for all course content. But when a student mentioned that her preference was for direct instruction, I found a way to make lecture an option. Other students said they worked best seated on the floor or in a more comfortable chair, and 2 classes later, there was a new station in my room to accommodate these preferences. A final example, and my favorite one, is when a student came up to me and told me that she appreciated that I made instructional videos for class, but that she wanted me to know that they were, well, fairly boring, and therefore not very engaging. In telling this story to other educators, some teachers interjected at this point that maybe this person was a little brash or a little rude, and though I could have been offended by her comment, I wasn't. Instead, I was encouraged. This student, one of the best and brightest in her class, recognized that her voice mattered, and knowing this, she felt comfortable enough to voice her need regardless of whether or not it hurt my feelings. To me, that's encouraging. To me, that's student voice. And within a matter of days, I began attending the Intro to Video class at my school, and a semester later, I shared my new, more engaging videos with her and thanked her for her contribution to our course. Give your students voice in your classroom, and I promise you that you'll appreciate how they will push you to rethink and redesign your best practices. Thank you for devoting your time today to learning more about the voice and choice element of personalized learning, and good luck with layering in more personalized elements into your lessons and units in the future.